Well, a little bit about myself. Grew up in South Jersey. Always felt like kind of a social outcast, had a hard time making friends. Didn't fit in anywhere, didn't know what was going on. Lonely, came from an abusive home, a lot of violence in the home. Spent a lot of time on my own. And one day my brother brought home a little acoustic guitar and said, I don't know what to do with this. And I sat down. I started playing that thing. And I realized I had found my sanctuary, my therapy, my cathedral. And from that moment on, that's all I did. Played around Jersey for a while, up and down the East Coast, and some good club bands. Finally, in 1974, I had a little VW. Had a super reverb amp. I put that in the back of the VW. I had a Gibson 335, a mandolin, and a trumpet. Put that in the back of the VW. Borrowed $150 from my old man and set out for California. And got out here and immediately started getting in bands. It happened very quickly for me. I got into a band called the Jesse Ed Davis Band. Jesse Ed was a guy who, if you read a biography of John Lennon, Jesse was his favorite guitarist. Jesse played on Walls and Bridges and Rock and Roll by John Lennon. He played the concert for Bangladesh with George Harrison and Bob Dylan. He was a big-time dude. We had Bob Glaub on the bass, who played with Rod Stewart, Stevie Nicks, all sorts of people. We had two different drummers, one of whom was Gary Malaber, who ended up playing with Van Morrison and on all of Steve Miller's big hits. So I came from this little town in New Jersey, came out here, and suddenly I was swept up into this world. It kind of took me over, took me by storm. I didn't know how to handle it. But I did that gig for 2 years. Had a lot of problems. Took some time off, trying to get myself back together mentally, and started playing in blues bands. And I ended up playing with a great blues musician named John Lee Hooker, one of the originals. Big Mama Thornton, Percy Mayfield, Pee Wee Creighton, Lowell Folsom. I played with the soul singer Joe Tex. I played with Bobby Hatfield of the Righteous Brothers. And I ended up playing at a little club in L.A. with John Lee Hooker's band. And some guys came in, they listened to me play, and they told me they were from this band called Canned Heat. Canned Heat was a huge band that had been at Woodstock and had 4 #1 hits. And they asked me to go on the road with them. So I went off on the road with them. That turned into a 5-year gig. And out of that, I got hired by a very iconic British blues singer named John Mayall. Among the guitar players who had passed through John's band was Eric Clapton, Mick Taylor, who went on to join the Rolling Stones, and Peter Green, who started Fleetwood Mac. So I was in good company with those guys. Toured with them for 5 years, played all over the world, played Carnegie Hall, Royal Festival Hall. It was a great gig. He paid me a lot of money. We traveled first class. It was incredible. But I'd come out and do 4 solos a night, and I'd think I'm in this world-famous blues band that is still one of probably the top 4 blues acts in the world, Mr. Mayall. And I'd think, this is great. I'm playing in these symphony orchestra halls, and I'm doing all this stuff, but when do I get to play? So I started the house band down at Perks on Main Street, down by the pier. And when I was not on tour, I would go down to Perks with my buddies, And we would play 6 hours a night, 6 nights a week, and I got to play as much as my heart desired. There's a lot of pitfalls out there on the road. I fell into all of them. I went through every sort of addiction you can mention. I have now been sober for 27 years. I got sober because Carlos Santana did a 3-day intervention on me, and he basically spent 3 days we were in East Berlin, Germany, when it was communist, and Carlos kind of slapped me around, and he told me, he said, you have a gift. God gave you a gift for music. And when you're that drunk and that high on stage, you are taking that gift and you're going like this to the one who gave you the gift. You have to take it seriously. And if you take your gift seriously and you work on it and you hold it in your heart deeply and you realize that's why you have been put on this earth, by playing music to people and communicating to them, you can make the world a little bit better place. And that's when I realized that playing the blues was not just fun and games. It's actually, in some ways, a very noble calling, because you have a chance to go out and to move people and to affect them with your music. And after the 3 days I spent with Santana, I quit everything. But before that, I was deep into the throes of all that stuff. And, you know, even in spite of being sober for 27 years now, I'm paying for my youth right now because I have liver problems. I've lost 80 pounds in the last 7 months. And but I intend to stay alive and keep playing. But it's been a little rough. But even in the shape I'm in, in November, I did a 30-day European concert tour and went out and kicked butt every night. And so that's, if there's one thing I could tell you, is if you are really serious about your music and you feel like you have that gift, you need to take it seriously. It's not fun and games. It's not a party. It is a serious calling you have been given, and you have the opportunity to make the world a better place. It's not just entertainment. It's not just show business. And when they come to hear you play, at the end of the night, when they leave, they're a different person. And that, to me, is about the most important message I can give you. And I speak from experience because I did all of it to great extent, and I'm paying for it now. And so you, of course, are going to go out and live your lives, and you're going to do what you're going to do. But my advice to you is keep focused on the art, focus on the music. When I was 10 years old, I got to hang out with Duke Ellington. And the one thing that he told me was, don't worry about the hype. Don't worry about the glory, the spotlight, the stardom. He said, focus on being an artist. Focus on expressing yourself. Focus on being honest and true to yourself, and create the best art you can create. Gresham. Why don't you sing something, brother? Come on now. Why don't you sing something, brother? The blues. 3 chords, make it up. That's what I've been doing for 43 years.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I came home last night, and my baby, she do me wrong. I came home last night, and my baby, she do me wrong. She was with another man all night long. She's in love with someone else. She's always holding him tight. She's in love with that man. She wants to be with him all night. And that's the reason another man. All night long. And that's the reason. It's the reason I'm gone. And that's the reason. It's the reason I'm gone.
I'm very proud of that young man, I'll tell you that. Well, how about we do a little question and answer, a little bit of talk here, and then maybe we'll take it out a little later on another couple of jam sessions. How's that sound? How about it for Adam Ditt sitting in on the bass guitar? Michael Trout on the drums.
This question is actually kind of for Marie as well. You know, you mentioned that you were on the road 200 and some odd days a year. And how do you balance the whole family, you know, being away? Because I know they miss you, but how do you balance the family and the music career?
Well, how do you balance that? For Walter, it's about, I think, really being connected to his family, even though he's gone. I mean, one of the big things Walter really wanted was a family. You know, he wanted a family just as much as he wanted a career. And so it's a commitment you take on. And nowadays we have Skype. It makes it easy. We have remote parenting sometimes via Skype. Hey, Walter, you get this one, you know. I'm walking out the room here. So, you know, he's still connected to his family. It doesn't have to be, he's gone, he doesn't think about us. Because that would just be horrible. That would be heartbreaking for the kids and for me. I think there are some artists that do that. And I don't think they stay in their relationships or keep their families intact. And I think that might be one of the reasons so many artists lose their families and get lost. So I think for Walter, it's a dual commitment. There's the road, there's the people out there, there's the fans, there's the taking that responsibility on of being an artist and giving it your all every night. You know, it's, you know, sometimes he's bone tired. You know, he's been driving, and you know, there's been delays, and he'll call me up and he's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. You know, I don't know how I'm going to do it. But I've seen it again and again. He goes out on that stage and it's like he makes a decision. I'm going to give this everything I got. These people paid to see me, so they're going to get everything I have. And at the same time, he has never said to me, I don't have time for you now, or, you know, no, I don't want to hear about the kids now. You know, he really takes that equally seriously.
Mike Trout, what's it like dealing with a famous dad that's, you know, musician? Can you share anything?
I personally think that it's a lot of fun, and I'm unbelievably privileged, but it is kind of weird having a dad that's gone like half the year, and it's hard, but it's just fun at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain, you know. Yeah, I'm exceedingly proud of my dad. I love the guy. He's, you know, my father, so, but it's kind of weird to like see him as like a father, but also as like super badass guitar player guy.
So Walter, going back now to what this is really all about, though, is the music and stuff. And a lot of the kids, I mentioned the thing earlier with Quincy saying that we don't know about our own culture. You mentioned the very first guy that you played with, the blues guy, the real guy. And who was that?
Well, in Jersey, I played with a guy named Louisiana Red, and he was definitely not European. But John Lee Hooker.
John Lee Hooker. So if you have a guitar, and if you could explain, because some of the guitar players know who that is, but a lot of the young people that might watch this documentary that's being filmed, they don't know anything about the blues. So if you could share, what was it that made his music special? Could you play like a little example of a riff that he would play?
Well, I can explain it because there's been a lot of famous songs written about stuff that he came up with. One is LaGrange by ZZ Top. That's John Lee Hooker. And Canned Heat also had a song called Refried Boogie, which was And one time I was on a riverboat in New Orleans, and I was sitting there with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater, and we were watching John Lee Hooker play. And he started the lick off, and then he stopped, and he said, you know, a lot of white boys made the money off this song, but I'm the one what wrote it. And I'm there with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, and I'm from Canned Heat, and we looked at each other and went, you know. But he was one of the originators of this stuff. And Big Mama Thornton, who I played with, wrote, she wrote You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog. She did it before Elvis. She wrote Ball and Chain, which was covered by Janis Joplin. And you know, those were the originators of the stuff, and to play with these guys was an incredible education for me. I mean, I have a film clip of me playing with both of them, and I'm just amazed watching it now. It's from, I think, 1979, and I watch it now, and I'm just amazed that I got to do that, because they're gone. You know, and they won't be back. And they're the first generation of that stuff. And the fact that I got to spend a couple of years playing with the guys, or in Big Mama, the lady who invented this stuff, is something I cherish till the day I die.
Another one of those pioneers was obviously Muddy Waters, and you were influenced so much by Mike Bloomfield, who basically, you know, knew all of the Chicago blues players. Do you want to share any stories about that, or what makes that music special, the way it, you know, what you do to get that sound?
The thing with the blues is, you know, on the surface it's very simple. It's 3 chords, you know, but what gives it its strength is its depth. And, you know, Muddy Waters did a lot of songs that were 1 chord, as did John Lee Hooker. And it's the depth. It's the depth of the emotion that the singer and the musicians are expressing. And in the blues, I find that depth more than I do in any other kind of music myself. You know, and Mike Bloomfield was my main inspiration, and he kind of took the blues, and he was one of the first guys, white guys, to go out and play in Chicago with these originators, and he took their music and he gradually kind of added rock and roll chops to it and played it with more fire. And when I heard him, I was floored. I was killed. He was unbelievable.
Very cool. Well, now let's switch gears a little bit about some technique and things like that. And I know that you had to be excited to hear Anthony totally blatantly borrowing a lot of your style, which is great because that's what we're supposed to do. One thing was the volume thing. So how do you do that for the guitar players in here when you do that? Make it sound
well. You use your pinky, you turn the guitar off, you hit the note, and you slowly bring the guitar up. And sounds simple, but it's not. And it's something to work on. It's something I actually got from a guy named Roy Buchanan. And if you haven't heard him, check him out, because he's unbelievable guitar player. He's dead now also, but that was really his invention. It's been copied by Jeff Beck. It's been copied by other people, but Roy came up with that. And Roy was off the hook as a guitar player. He was frightening. And I got to tour Europe with him, with John Mayall, and we were in a tour bus. And Roy sat down in the back of the bus and said, "Hey, man, I really like your playing. How about we trade some licks?" And I said, "Well, Roy, I don't have a lick to trade you, but anything you want to show me, I'm game." And he sat in the back, and I couldn't even take in what he was showing me. It was too incredible, you know.
Yeah. So you're standing next to that amplifier, wasn't it? So is that part of your signature sound?
Well, this is a Mesa Boogie. I have been endorsed by them for about 30 years, and when they put out a new amp, they send me a couple of them. And I have 3 or 4 of them I leave in Europe, along with a couple of speaker cabinets. And that way, when I go to Europe, I have a whole set of backline over there for my band. We leave it there, we store it there, and then when we show up to tour, we have our own gear. Because when I started touring there, we used to use rented gear, and it was horrible. You know, you're going to play in front of 20,000 people, and they give you a pig nose amp that's this big. And so I just started taking stuff over there, and I've got, my goodness, 3 or 4 of these. I got a couple of Mark I's, but I think they're the most versatile amp on the face of the earth. I love them. And they have been great to me. They've just been awesome to me. Great company. And like I say, 30 years, you know. So we have a long-lasting relationship, that company and me.
I love you mentioned Europe, that you were just there. Marie did a post on Facebook, and I don't know the exact one. It was something, you met someone that was real famous in one of those 70s English bands.
Well,
what did he say?
Well, I was invited to go to this thing in London called the Classic Rock Awards, and it's a very big deal. It's on British television and all this. And they invited me to come and present my old boss, John Mayall, with an achievement award. So that was an incredible opportunity. My wife came over for that. She took me out the night before the show and tried to spiff me up. She bought me a nice jacket and stuff, you know, because I never sort of went in for image, you know. I was all about the music. And so I presented John the award, and afterwards we were in the press room. Everybody's getting their pictures taken, and I look next to me, and there's Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin. And I turned to him, and he held out his hand. He said, "Walter.Trout, I've heard your stuff. I think it's great." And I just shook his hand, and I said, "Jimmy Page, I've heard your stuff too, and I think you're great." And he just busted up, and then they let him out of the room, and it was a funny little meeting there.
I love that story. So tell them what's it like to be on the road, though, for real, as far as, you know, just the daily routine. What do you do?
It seems, you know, everybody thinks it's a glamorous life out there. Well, it's not. You get up every day. You drive 6 or 7 hours. You check into a hotel. You might have an hour and a half to maybe get a nap. Then they wake you up. They drive you to whatever venue it is. You go out and play. You get all adrenalined up. You know, you play for these people like we did. We packed Shepherd's Bush Empire in London, which is a beautiful old venue. The Beatles played, the Stones played there. And after the gig, you're all like, whoa. And that's why in the old days, for me, it was whiskey to come down. Now it's the BBC, remote control, and a couple of Pop-Tarts. But
No more Pop-Tarts.
no more Pop-Tarts, okay. A couple of health cookies. There we go. But it becomes a routine every day. And I don't believe in days off. We go out there to work. We're out there for 30 days. We'll do 30 cities in a row. And matter of fact, I did one tour with Canned Heat. You have to run this through your head. We did 75 cities in 68 days. Now think about that one. And it gets very tiring, especially now at age 62. It really takes it out of you. And there are times I have to call my beautiful wife and say, I just don't have it. I can barely stand up, you know. And but I soldier through. I get out there on the stage, and those people scream and yell, and I get their energy, and I play them a gig. But there's a lot of bad food. There's not much sleep. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. You know, I have seen the world through playing music. I've been to India 3 times. I've been all over the place, and I spend a couple of months a year, every year, all the way back to the Mayall days in Europe. And I've been everywhere. I even, back before the Berlin Wall fell, and there was East Germany, the communist country. We played there a lot, and we also played in Russia a lot on these State Department tours. They didn't let in rock and roll bands, but because we were billed as a blues band, they thought we were some cultural event, so they let us in. And but like I say, there's a good side to it, which is the gig, and the rest of it gets pretty rough at times, you know. And but you learn how to survive out there. Mr. Mayall has been at it for over 50 years. He still does 150 to 200 cities a year. He's 80 years old. He would collect the food in the dressing room, little packages of lunch meat and stuff, and he'd put them in these little plastic bags. That way he felt like he didn't have to spend money on food. And he'd carry it around with him. And one day I went to his room to talk to him, and he had all this lunch meat spread out all over the desk, and it turns out he had packed it with some ice cream. The ice cream had melted on this lunch meat, and he was wiping the ice cream off the meat with toilet paper. And he wiped a piece, and he said, "Walter, would you like some meat?" No, I'm fine, John. Thank you very much. But you learn how to survive out there. That's what it's about.
That might be actually the story that I was going to say, but I was going to say, what's the strangest gig you've ever played that's like presentable for an audience like this?
That would have been the first real gig I ever did back in New Jersey.
Really? Okay.
The club band I got in New Jersey, we're going to do our first gig. I'm all excited. I think I was 17. And we're driving to the gig, and the guy says, "By the way, this is a Christmas party for deaf mutes." And we show up, and there's about 500 deaf mutes, and they're having this big Christmas bash. And the guy putting it on says, "Just play loud. They feel it. Doesn't matter what you play, just turn it up." So we're just up there playing. Some people are jitterbugging, other people are slow dancing. And so I started my career playing to a room full of people who couldn't hear me. And that was probably the strangest gig ever.
Walter, are there any last things that you'd like to share with the group, you know, as far as pearls of knowledge, words of wisdom, all of that?
I think what I told you earlier about the addiction stuff is the most potent message I can give you, because I look out there and a lot of these guys, I see myself at your age, and I know I was young, I was naive at that point, and I had this dream, and I was determined, but I lost my way, you know. And if there's anything you can take away from this, it's that knowledge that everything you have to play great, everything you have to create, everything you have to write, it's already there. You don't have to be high, you don't have to drink. As a matter of fact, if you think about a drunken man trying to speak, he slurs his words, and that will do that to your music the same way. You lose your edge. And that to me is the most important thing I can tell you, because I'm really paying for it now. You know, I've got some pretty severe problems with my liver. I'm trying to build my strength back up. I've canceled 4 months of gigs. I have a gig in April in Florida with the Allman Brothers. And a week after that, I go to Australia and I play a gig with John Mayer and the Dave Matthews Band. But I'm trying to build my strength back up so I can go over there and kick some butt, you know. And I'm paying the price of a lot of bad decisions in my youth. And as I say, you're going to live your life. You're going to do what you're going to do. But I speak first person here. I'm not a therapist. I'm not preaching. I'm telling you my own experience in the music business. I got into all that bull crap. And here I am at age 62, and now it's come back to bite me. And that's the best thing I could tell you. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Putting down so many nights and days, little girl, she was whipping this town. I had me a little job, baby. I was playing down the way. Had me a little job, pretty baby. I was playing down the way. I wasn't feeling too good. I want to hear what my baby got to say. Play your guitar, Cole.
Thank you so much. Thank you for Jamie Knight for having me down here today.